Welcome to this week's edition of the Social Sit Down. My name's Matthew Walker, one of the recruitment consultants here, and you're probably wondering why I'm doing the intro and not my esteemed guest today, which is Tim, and there's a specific reason for that. For those of you that came along to our workshops over the last few weeks, you'll have met Tim. We've been going around talking about how to become the employer of choice. So we hope that anyone that did attend who's watched this today gained a lot from it. But we thought that today what we'd do is have Tim talk about his experience on the road, share some stories around what's going on within business, and delve a little bit deeper in some of the key areas, such as how to build an excellent company culture, engagement within your workforce, and obviously the big part, which is leadership. So Tim, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh no, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So, first of all, how's the last few weeks been for you?
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. We went to Manchester, Newcastle, and Glasgow doing the workshops. And I love doing stuff like this because, as much as obviously my knowledge, it's good to get across to other people. But I find what people take from this is having a lot of like-minded people in one room, HR professionals, recruitment professionals, just sharing stories, talking about what's working, what's probably not quite working. I think it's really reassuring for a lot of people because sometimes, I think, especially in smaller organisations, the world of HR can maybe be a bit lonely.
Can be, yeah.
And they might be sat there thinking, am I doing this right? Is this not working? What does our brand look like online? We're struggling to attract people.
Yeah.
Just to have a conversation with somebody who is feeling the same thing, I think, it comes across really well as people took a lot away from it.
Yeah, and we've been doing this for a number of years, and I think I echo what you say. I think it does offer a lot of reassurance. I think anyone who's in HR or recruitment will feel like I'm doing all these different things, but am I doing it right?
Yeah.
And you've probably found that actually.
Yeah. Some people it's hard to find out where they think they might be going wrong. Sometimes people know exactly what's not working and they come with an idea of this is what we need to improve. Maybe our employee engagement isn't quite as good, or maybe we're putting a lot of budget behind advertising and we're not really getting the response from it. Some people know what they're looking for. Others sometimes just need a bit of reassurance that actually they're doing a really good job and they're on the right path.
No, it's really good to hear. So they were really well attended.
Yeah, really well attended. Yeah, really enjoyed. It's been lots of different types of businesses I found, because we work with all kinds of, massive, large corporate organisations to small not-for-profit organisations. So it was good to get a bit of a taste of how everybody's finding it, and just talk about how we can help people become an employer of choice. Good,
and nice segue actually around that. So becoming an employer of choice, now it's something that we talk about daily with customers, and we're talking to HR professionals and recruitment professionals, and we all talk about this idea of being the employer of choice. Do you want to give a little bit of an intro as to what does it mean?
So, I mean, we're in a very competitive market. We've mentioned it on all of the social sit-downs we've done, on our webinars that we run. There are a lot more jobs out there than there are people. So what we need to think about is, it's not just how do we put as many adverts in as many places, but how do we actually stand out from the crowd? And the three areas that we've found are a really good way to become an employer of choice is, first of all, have a look at your company culture. What is it like to work there? The vibe in the office, that sort of stuff. Having a look at, your engagement. What do the current staff like about working here? How often do we give them a chance to voice their opinions? And leadership, what's it like from the top down in terms of the direction where we're going?
No, I couldn't agree more. And I think with the company culture in particular, everyone has one. There is a culture in every single organisation, but do you understand what it is? Is it right? Is it toxic?
Yeah, is it good or bad?
Yeah. And what does it look like, for larger organisations, locations, and I'm sure that came up in the workshops.
Yeah. Geographically, sometimes if an organisation is based in the heart of Manchester, you're going to get a different culture than you might get in, we're based in Warrington, halfway between Liverpool and Manchester. So you're going to get different types of people. You might get different age demographics. So that is going to influence the culture.
Absolutely. And with that comes this idea of EVP, the employee value proposition.
Yeah. So what we want to look at is, what are we going to market with in terms of why would somebody want to join our organisation? And too many times do we see people going out and writing these job adverts and listing all of the incredible benefits of working at the organisation and things like that, when actually, if you speak to the staff, there's some benefits on there that they don't really care about, they're not that bothered about, and it's knowing what to go to market with.
So, having run these workshops and spoken to many businesses over the last few weeks, and let's be honest, we've been speaking to businesses for years.
Yeah.
So, with a company culture, we know what it is because everyone has one. But how do you go about finding out exactly who you are and what your culture is? And then once you have that information, what do you do with it?
So I think, first of all, laying out things like a vision and the values of the organisation is really important. And you probably can't see it on the camera, but behind your head, we've got simplify in big letters. And we have, different values that we all as an organisation strive towards. Now, those came about from the ideas of staff and people who work here. So using engagement methods, so using technology to go out with surveys to find out why people like working here, why they feel valued in what they do, gives you the ability to put together some core values. What you can do then is use those core values as you attract other like-minded people into the organisation. From day one, those values are drilled into them of this is how we work, this is the vision we're working towards. And it snowballs and creates even more of that same culture.
And where would you show your culture? If you're going out to market, you've got new positions available within the organisation, looking to grow or do whatever. Where would I position all of this information?
For me, a careers page is a must. I think it's all well and good having information like that on a job ad. Let's say you're using one of the main job boards. It's good to have a little bit of that in the job ad. But about 80% of candidates who are looking for a job or planning to apply for a job will then go and research that organisation. They're going to come across your careers page. And if they find that and there's, a couple of stock images with, a list of current vacancies, really that is potentially going to put someone off when they might be looking at your competitor who's got an all singing, all dancing, testimonials from existing members of staff, the culture and the vision thrown in their face the minute they go to that careers page. So that's for me where it should be for the new candidates, for your existing members of staff, on the walls around the office, email communications. We have one thing that we talked about quite a lot in the workshops was recognition, and we've got awards specifically based on our values as an organisation.
Yeah, that's good.
If somebody is really good at collaborating with other members of staff, there's a specific award for that. So it's just always regularly reminded to us on a day-to-day basis of what the values here at Talos are. Yeah,
I completely echo that. I think as a whole, and the research we've been doing recently, retention is on a high nationally. Companies are retaining staff along, and now we know there are those sectors where there's a constant churn. But even then, there's still work you can be doing. So we know that within the care sector, for example, and there was plenty of those organisations on your travels, they struggle to retain support workers, care assistants, that type of thing. But that's a national.
Yeah, that's the trend, and you're going to find that in the sales roles and telemarketing roles and customer support roles. You are going to find there's going to be high turnover. Sometimes it's good to embrace that and kind of go, look, we are going to have quite a high churn. Obviously, we can reduce that where we can, but more often than not, sometimes it's very hard to shift that culture. But what you can do is acknowledge that that's going to be there and try and mitigate it where possible. So try and retention. It's easier to retain staff than it is to find new ones.
I think and we're going to come on to engagement in a second. But things like getting the right benefits in place and to really suit the organisation and the people working within it is crucial. I mean, we know that this stuff comes up all day, every day. But with engagement, this is one of the core areas that you discussed in the last few weeks. Just talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that the businesses are facing with this.
I think one of the main challenges a lot of businesses are having is how do they get the information from their workforce. So it's how do we ask the questions? What questions do we ask? That's a big one.
That's huge.
It's all well and good asking questions, but if you're not asking the right questions, you're not going to get the information you
What do you think of your manager?
You've got, and that's why when you're putting these questions together, you've got to think, well, what do we want out of this?
Correct.
What's the outcome? What information are we looking to act on? But I think the most important thing that I think gets missed all the time is a lot of organisations are really good at hearing, and they go out and they ask questions, but they don't listen. And there's a very big difference between an organisation that asks questions and ones that actually take on board what's been said and acts on it. Because if I come up with a really good recommendation in a feedback survey, an engagement survey, and nothing is done about it, what am I going to do the next time there's an engagement survey? I'm going to go, well, what's the point? Nobody listens to what I say. I'm not going to bother. And you've immediately tarnished what you were looking to do. So action in it is a big thing.
So,
quick one. Sorry to interrupt the video. We have essentially been talking a lot during this video and on our recent workshops about engagement. And one thing we want to talk about is Talos's Engage platform. Now, this is, as an employee of Talos, an amazing piece of kit that has helped us become voted as the 9th best place to work in the UK. And it's given us as employees a voice, and it's helped the organisation and our leadership team tailor the journey that we go on, how we look at our benefits packages, and like I said, help us become the 9th best place to work in the UK. So if you get in touch, you can click on one of the links above. We'll be able to get in touch with you, talk to you about engagement software and how we can potentially help you guys, well, improve your overall EVP, employee engagement, and create a better workforce culture. Thanks a lot. That's the video.
I don't mind revealing my age. I'm 38, you know, so I've been working for the best part of 20, maybe to 22 years. Engagement has always been there. It's always been, well, you need to do an engagement survey, we need to do this. It's not until I've worked here, probably, maybe one or two places prior, that I've truly understood why engagement is important and engagement data that's picked up to be acted on in the right way. So, again, whilst you're on your travels, I mean, what are other organisations doing here?
So, I mean, I think using technology is an amazing way to get information, and the right types of technology will help you analyse that data so you can kind of look at where the areas for improvement are. I think it's a big education piece. I think it's a case of organisations need to know where they need to improve, and that's where getting this data and will give you the sense of direction. But knowing how to act, when to act on stuff, and you know, like you said, I've worked in organisations that have asked questions and not perhaps done anything on it. Talos are great at it. We do it for really small things. We recently had an engagement survey. Of course, use our own technology to do it. We've had engagement surveys on things like our benefits packages. So a benefits package, if someone puts it together and it's a top-down decision, 50% of the stuff on there, people might be going, this
irrelevant.
This is nothing irrelevant to do with me. But the other half they might really like. So using engagement to find out what people like. I think that leads quite nicely onto the final point of leadership in terms of we were told the reasoning of why the survey was coming. Survey came, we were told the results of it, and then told what the actions were going to be, and have then seen the actions. So I now know going into our next engagement survey, whenever we run that whatever voice I raise, whatever concerns or good things I raise,
well, you're just more likely to complete it, aren't you?
They're going to be listened to, they're going to be actioned. But I felt very involved in the process, and we kept informed, and that's a sign of really good leadership.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a really nice segue. And, it's surprising when we have these conversations. I guess we take that stuff for granted. We do talk about it day in, day out. But when we're out there speaking to other organisations, it's surprising how something that seems so simple is not being done. So I know a lot of organisations took that away and thought, actually, let's actually engage with staff rather than just doing it as a tick box exercise. No, it's really interesting. Just on that point of leadership, then, can be a difficult subject for HR in particular. Challenging leadership across the board. What's coming out of business at the moment?
I think what you get is lots of different types of leadership, and people's definition on what a good leader is varies. But at the end of the day, good leaders will not just help the organisation reach their objectives and hit sales numbers or whatever that might be. They'll help develop and grow their staff to create an amazing culture, to give employees the voice that they need. And this is where, your employees are your biggest advocate. It's free press when they go out to the world and say, I love what I do.
It's the best type
It's the best type, shouting about it on LinkedIn. I'm going to believe somebody who is actively telling me how much they love their job in the pub over a pint than I am reading some sort of scripted job description. So having your employees buy into that value, buy into that culture comes from leadership. And I think having leadership comes from the top down. So from SLT down to line managers, that needs to be the same message from A to B.
Okay, so I know from your recent workshops and from conversations that we're having generally, the common theme or the common word that keeps coming out is communication.
Yeah, big one. I've said employees, they want to have a voice, but I go back to the example of what we did with our benefits packages here at Talos. We were involved in the process all along the way, and it's about communication. Anybody who's left in the dark is sat there wondering what's going on, what's the next step, has anybody actually listened to what I've said? And sometimes just acknowledging, we've heard you, it's going to take us a couple of weeks to get back to you on anything, just that little bit of communication goes a long way. And it's a two-way street. Communication is a two-way street, but you need leadership to drive that communication and set up whether we have 2 weekly tribe meetings so that everybody has a chance to find out business updates, things like quarterly kickoffs or a monthly debrief on how did the last month go, where can we move forward. Regular touch points with senior leadership team, with other members of your team goes a long way. Yeah,
and I think, some of the best businesses have that open door policy, don't they?
Yeah.
So leadership are in and around. They're approachable,
easily accessible.
And that's what people want. They want to be able to speak to someone and be themselves.
Yeah, there's some organisations where leadership are thought of sat in their ivory tower. They don't know what it's like here on the front line, kind of thing.
Can't challenge anything because I don't want to get sacked.
Yes, don't want to raise a point. And whereas in an open organisation where, new ideas are encouraged openly, you'll see much better productivity. You'll see your retention massively improve because people are much happier. They feel much bigger sense of belonging at the organisation. But it comes from leadership, but it works its way straight back up as well.
So, talking about being the employer of choice, we've touched on 3 key areas there. Actually, if you get those right, you bang on the right track. Obviously, you need the right level of service and product that goes with all of this. But becoming the employer of choice, is there anything that came out of your workshop or any keynotes that came out from companies that attended where you thought, actually, these guys are getting it right, or these guys are getting it so wrong?
Yeah, there was a nice mix, which I think is good. It wasn't a load of people sat in a room kind of going, we're all getting this completely wrong. A lot of people are on the right track, and like I said at the beginning, some people just like to know that. There's a lot of organisations who are actively engaging with their employees on a regular basis and listening to them and acting on that, and it's great to see. There is work on maybe the questions that could be asked, and maybe looking at what are we trying to achieve here. Well, let's tailor the questions based on that. There are some organisations who were very open with us and said that the reason we're sat here today is we know we're not an employer of choice, whether that is because we are, I don't know, you could be office-based roles if they're not in the most desirable location. They were trying to look on, how can we improve our benefits packages, pay packages, things like that.
I mean, when I attended your workshop in Manchester, what was evident to me was the fact that there's some great things going on within organisations, and we've had a client day here as well, where some of our clients have come in here, and I think a lot of organisations are getting it right internally, but what they're not doing is being able to communicate that externally.
This for me, one of the main takeaways I took is that there are some organisations who've got an amazing culture. It sounds like a brilliant place to work.
Nobody knows about it.
The benefits are great, but nobody knows about it. And I saw some careers pages where there was no mention of benefits packages, and it's scary to think that you're trying to attract new talent in a very, very competitive market, and you're not talking about an amazing. You've worked so hard to get that company culture and get that brand right. Your EVP is spot on. Shout about it from the rooftops. This is where I think a lot of organisations are going wrong.
So on that bombshell, we'll close it off there. I just want to thank Tim.
No problem.
For his time today. If you have any suggestions on topics you'd like us to cover over the coming weeks, because these episodes are really picking up pace. We're getting lots of viewers. Please do reach out to us. All the details will be on here, or you can reach out by just going through to our website address, I guess. And dropping a feedback on there. But thank you for watching today, and look out for us over the coming weeks. soon.